If you follow this channel, you will know that I'm interested in the origins and earliest depictions of common tropes and stock characters in cartoons. Many ufologists and shows like Ancient Aliens often explore the earliest known depictions of extraterrestrials and UFOs in ancient art. And this got me thinking, when did these concepts first appear in cartoons and animation? Aliens, UFOs, and flying saucers exploded into mainstream popularity around the late 1940s, but it may surprise you that aliens have appeared in cartoons for over 100 years. Today we are hurtling through space and time to find the earliest animated venture into outer space, as well as the first aliens to ever appear in a cartoon. If you enjoy exploring the forgotten history of Saturday morning cartoons, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Aliens had already appeared in cinema by the very beginning of the 20th century, most famously in George Méliès' A Trip to the Moon in 1902. For animators, outer space offered a way to depict wildly imaginative creatures outside the conventions of fantasy, with Mars and its Martian inhabitants quickly becoming the most popular destination. The earliest known cartoon to venture into outer space took place in 1924 with the Fleischer Studio short A Trip to Mars, the 31st entry in the Out of the Inkwell series. The film features the live-action Max Fleischer interacting with the animated Koko the Clown, explaining his lifelong interest in astronomy before sending Koko into space in a rocket ship. The rocket overshoots the moon and crash lands on Mars, where Koko encounters a host of bizarre and at times genuinely unsettling Martian creatures and mechanical contraptions that relentlessly chase and harass the clown as he attempts to escape using the Martian public transportation system. Max himself eventually joins Koko on Mars before both characters fall back down to Earth. Released on April 1st, 1924, A Trip to Mars was not the first cartoon to combine animation with live-action footage, but it stands as the earliest animated film set in outer space, and Koko the Clown the first cartoon character to encounter extraterrestrial beings. The next cartoon character to be sent into space was Felix the Cat in the 1928 classic Astronomiaus, directed by Otto Mesmer. Felix is addressing a meeting of cats where he suggests investigating Mars as a possible home for cats to migrate to in the future. The motion is carried, and Felix is designated to investigate the planet. Felix's arrow with a string attached at first overshoots and lands on the ring of Saturn, where a cycling race is taking place. His arrow punctures the tire of one cyclist, who beats Felix up and kicks the cat off the planet. Felix eventually lands on Mars, whose sky is filled with many moons, and where Felix encounters an array of hostile, mechanical-like creatures. Felix eventually meets the King of Mars, who finds the cat curious and orders an investigation of Felix. Soon a shooting star arrives, wreaking havoc on the planet and terrorizing the king. Felix manages to subdue the stray comet, much to the gratitude of the King of Mars, and Felix is soon joined on Mars by a horde of his fellow cats. The year 1930 saw two cartoons taking place in outer space. First in November, when another of Fleischer Studios' popular characters, Bimbo, got blasted to Mars in the Talkatoons cartoon Up to Mars. And then 1 month later, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit also took a trip to the Red Planet on the back of a witch's broomstick, in the cartoon simply titled Mars. Ex-Disney animator Ub Iwerks went into great detail in his Willy Whopper cartoon Stratosphere, released in 1933, which borrowed the bicycle race on Saturn gag seen earlier in Felix the Cat. Willy Whopper is filled with too much nitrous oxide at the dentist and dreams of floating up to a distant planet, where he encounters whimsical creatures. But his time there quickly descends into a surreal nightmare, and, like the other cartoons already mentioned, Stratosphere incorporates elements from science fiction horror. The idea of aliens being little green men wasn't popularized until the infamous Kelly Hopkinsville encounter in 1955, but actually this image had been popularized in animation many years before. The earliest example of little green men in animation that I've been able to find could be seen in the 1946 Popeye cartoon, Rocket to Mars, which had a field day with outer space visual puns, and where the famous sailor is forced to battle an army of the little guys. Other animators caught on to the concept of little green men soon after 1955, a notable example coming in the 1956 Merry Melody short Rocket-Bye Baby, directed by Chuck Jones. Perhaps the most iconic animated alien is Marvin the Martian, also created by Chuck Jones, first seen in the 1948 Looney Tunes cartoon Hair Devil Hair, in which Bugs Bunny encounters the Martian on the moon, and where Marvin was accompanied by his Martian dog, K9. Chuck Jones noted that Bugs Bunny soon learned to outwit Yosemite Sam, so he decided to create the opposite type of character, one who was quiet and soft-spoken, but whose actions were incredibly destructive and legitimately dangerous. Being from the planet Mars, it was only fitting that Marvin was designed to resemble Mars, the Roman god of war, wearing a green and red Roman military uniform, complete with basketball shoes. Marvin actually wasn't given a name in any of the original Looney Tunes shorts until he was finally dubbed Marvin for the 1979 compilation film The Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Movie. Marvin usually appeared opposite Bugs Bunny, but played a central role opposite Daffy Duck in arguably the most famous outer space cartoon, the 1953 classic Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. The rise of TV animation saw an explosion of interest in space-age themes, which coincided with the launch of Sputnik 1 in 1957. As a result, space-age obsessions found their way into many of the earliest TV cartoons. A notable example was the Flintstones, introducing a little green alien named the Great Gazoo, who visited Earth in the Stone Age. Stand by for the Ancient Aliens episode on that one. The first cartoon alien to have his own series was Colonel Bleep from 1957, created by Robert D. Buchanan and Jack Schleyer. The show is set in the year 1945, shortly after the first nuclear explosion on Earth, which has had cosmic effects. The denizens of the possible exoplanet Futura become alarmed, and the Futurians send one of their own, Colonel Bleep, to Earth to investigate. Colonel Bleep was the first animated TV series in color, and 100 episodes were produced. Science fiction enjoyed its golden age around the 1940s and 1950s as the genre expanded significantly in literature and film, influenced by technological advancements and the nuclear age. But cartoons and animation were ahead of the curve and introduced audiences to staples of science fiction as early as the 1920s. Drop a comment and let everyone know what were some of your favorite cartoons to take place in outer space, as well as some memorable cartoon aliens that you remember fondly. I also enjoy receiving your requests and suggestions, so why don't you let me know in the comments what other common tropes and stock characters from the world of cartoons you would like me to investigate. Please like this video if you learned something today, and remember to subscribe for more content like this. I'll be back again soon, so until then, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more cartoon history.